Hello Pisces, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of July 2022. So this reading will be for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So by all means, if you know your three major placements, feel free to listen to any and all of the readings that apply, as each one of them may resonate for you differently. And as always, do keep in mind these readings are general in nature, so they're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, and that means that not everything that comes through will necessarily be for you. Definitely take anything and everything that does resonate, however that makes sense for you, however that might connect to your personal circumstances. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful as you move through the month, and simply leave the rest. So Pisces, I hope you're doing well. I hope that June was good to you. I'm very excited to take a look at July. I also apologize for the delay. I've kind of like bit off more than I could chew this month, and I've been also having some like technical difficulties with recording and uploading, so we're on the struggle bus, but I figured whatever, it's better late than never. So I'm really liking the energy that I was connecting with, so I'm excited to get into your reading. So as always, before we get into your oracle and tarot cards, I'm going to kick off the reading by sharing with you my channeled energetic impression and channeled messages that I took some time to sit down and connect with before I got your oracle card out, and then we'll get right into your cards. And I just woke up not long ago, so my voice is like a little hoarse, so forgive me if I'm constantly clearing my throat. Okay, so when I was preparing your cards and starting to connect to your energy, it was kind of interesting what I was picking up on. It was almost a frantic energy, but I don't know if this makes sense, but it felt like more of an internal frantic energy, not external. So it's not necessarily that you're racing and running around and kind of like all over the place, or that this like frantic energy might be really easy for other people to kind of recognize and identify, but it's more like perhaps on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, on a mental level, perhaps there's just a lot going on and you're feeling frantic. And the thing that came through was almost like maybe like experiencing some kind of pressure, like feeling like the pressure is on for you to get something done. I did get a sense of like perhaps there might be something that needs to end, a decision that needs to be made, a shift that needs to kind of come into being. And so this like frantic energy could be around that, perhaps in figuring that out or figuring out how you're going to take action, maybe even in resistance to it or overthinking. But it was definitely a hurried energy. And it's like you need to like make this decision quickly or figure it out quickly, or and it might not even necessarily be pressure that you're putting on yourself, but it could be someone around you that's making you feel as though like I got that vibe that like, when you're trying to accomplish something, even if it's something that you've done a million times before and it's easy and you should be able to do it with your eyes closed, when somebody is like standing there watching you carefully, how it kind of throws you off your game. This was the same vibe. So I don't know how that might apply for you guys, but it's kind of like that pressure and being observed and having expectations on you, especially if there's something kind of pressing that you need to tend with, how it can kind of make you clumsy and throw you off your game. And I also got the sense that it might be connected, it could be connected to a relationship or to family or to work, like one specific area of life, but that energy and the way that it's impacting you could be seeping into other areas of your life that are less related. So it might be like something that you really want to get a handle on, so it's not kind of, taking over. I will also say that while I was shuffling the tarot deck to get the cards cleansed, that the Emperor popped out a couple of times. So that's Aries energy. If you're into astrology, perhaps that could be someone around you, or maybe if you have that in your chart. But it's also like a very strong, like active leadership kind of energy, like somebody who is a visionary and who kind of takes charge, takes things into their own hands, and kind of gets stuff done. And it's like it can be a very passionate, very fiery energy. So it's great for getting things done. It could also be like a boss, a father figure. It could be just a strong personality around you, like somebody who's kind of always keeping things on track, because Aries is more like that energy. The Emperor is more like, it's less about that person doing the work for themselves to get to where they want to be. It's like the visionary energy, and kind of inspiring and managing people in a way that ensures the goal is met. So it could have to do with work for some of you, or however that, and it also could be you, like maybe you struggling with stepping into that energy and kind of like taking charge. I just thought I'd mention that because it came through. And so in terms of your channeled messages, the first one that came through was coming to terms with things, which gave me a sense of like, finding peace, a sense of release or acknowledgement of perhaps something that was challenging or difficult, something that you were having a hard time accepting or perhaps understanding, integrating. Maybe there may have been a certain amount of resistance around it, and it's kind of coming into acceptance and being able to kind of move forward instead of having your energy tied up in it. And so this could obviously have multiple applications, but the thing that came to mind when I was trying to get a better feel of like what this is connected to, it's that sense like, what is the quote? Something to do with like holding on to anger or resentment. Like we wish for others to be poisoned, but we end up just poisoning ourselves. And so it's recognizing that, the things that you're holding on to and the things that kind of stress you out, and that you have a difficult time just allowing yourself to acknowledge and honor and release, it ends up like poisoning you. And so it's almost like coming to a realization that you have the power to release yourself of those things. And you know better than to do that for yourself, and you know that you deserve more. So I thought that was nice. The next message was everything ends at some point. So it's like, whether it be feelings, experiences, relationships, jobs, it's recognizing that it's only natural for us to experience endings, for things to come to an end. Sometimes they end before we're ready. Sometimes we stay in situations way too long because we're avoiding an ending. Sometimes it's our decision, sometimes the decision is made for us, but either way, like, it's not necessarily an easy energy to contend with, because, a lot of us have trouble with change. And so this is kind of a sense also of like coming to peace, or coming to terms and finding peace with the fact that like endings are inevitable. You're not necessarily going to be in the same relationship forever. And that as much as there can be, attachment or resistance, even like grief around those endings and that change, that a lot of times it's beneficial, because it allows us the opportunity to connect with something that might be more aligned, or something that's going to help us to kind of expand and learn that next lesson. And so it's like, you're not necessarily going to be bound forever in every single way. And it's kind of about, just being in the present moment, enjoying everything that you've got right now, enjoying where you're at right now, and just kind of getting into more of a state of flow, so that when things start to kind of taper off or come to an ending, you're in a place to kind of acknowledge that and honor the experience that you've had, and allow yourself to flow into the next experience without kind of amplifying your own struggle, if that makes sense. The next message that came through was forced awakening. So this could be a belief, a new perspective, a realization that comes to you, but it could be seemingly by force, or through perhaps a really difficult or challenging experience. So it's kind of like not necessarily something that you anticipated coming into, not necessarily something that you wanted, but it could just be a byproduct from like a struggle, or it could be forceful in the sense that it happened really, really, it wasn't necessarily negative or challenging, but it just happened like really quickly and really unexpectedly. And it's like, it could just be the shock of coming into this new realization, because once you have a new perspective or a new belief or a new way of kind of viewing the world, you can't go backwards, right? And so inevitably you're changed, and you can't necessarily continue to operate as the same version of yourself. And so then you have to figure out, like, now that I know this, what am I going to do? And then putting that into practice and integrating that into your daily life. It can be a lot, right? So you may have been in a position where it's like something was kind of something felt kind of forced upon you, or perhaps you weren't, perhaps you came into awareness of something that you weren't necessarily wanting to have that perspective or that realization, and maybe it's kind of posed a difficulty for you. But yeah, so if there's a sense that it came by force or unexpectedly or through challenge, it's kind of like this awakening might be beneficial, but the way that it happens is perhaps a little unpalatable. And it's like now coming through it, it's like you can see the gift that you've been offered, and maybe it's a little bit easier for you to start integrating it. So there's a big theme of kind of like acceptance this month, acceptance and like dropping resistance and figuring out like what to do with what you've got, and kind of experiencing a little bit more peace and maybe even like gratitude for where you're at, even if you've been through some struggles or hardships. The next message that came through is endeavors of the heart. So that obviously for me, that connected immediately to love and relationships. It can definitely be like intimate romantic relationships, but it doesn't have to be. This could be like friendships, family relationships, like with siblings, parents, children. And so it's kind of like prioritizing quality time, connection, depth, intimacy, and like trust in those connections. And so that might be a big theme for you, or that might be an area that perhaps it needs a little bit of attention. Perhaps there's the opportunity for reconnection. But that might be something that comes up for you this month. And the last message that came through was totally unexpected. And so I kind of got the impression when this message came through that it's like you might be somebody who's like really sharp, really tuned in and aware. You've got a pretty good handle on yourself and other people, like the things outside of you. So you might be really good at kind of understanding, getting things sorted out, having things kind of planned or considered. And it's recognizing that, you know, even if you think you've got a really good handle on things, the universe can surprise you in like completely unexpected ways. There are things that can arise like that you would never ever even consider, right? And so it's kind of recognizing that you're not the stopping point for your life, and that as much as you can, even if you are like sensitive or spiritual in nature, like even if you use that to kind of help you get a handle, maybe even predictively or spiritually, to kind of get yourself settled and feel like you've got like a firm, solid foundation. It's like there are still things that can happen that you could never even possibly, you know, predict. And that's the beauty of life. That's the magic of life. And usually those gifts are bestowed upon us to help us along our path of growth. And so even when it comes to manifestation, if you're a skilled manifester and you really understand what you're doing and you've kind of got things all planned out, it's recognizing that it's remembering to be open to the beauty of life and those unexpected experiences and the ways that things can just kind of magically fall into place in ways that are better than we could possibly imagine, so that we're not shutting ourselves off to opportunities as well. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a nice sentiment. All right, so your oracle card for this month is Time for a Nap. And you're the second sign to get this message this month. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this set up so I can, there we go. So yeah, you're the second sign to get this oracle card this month. I believe Gemini had it as well. So you might be connected to a Gemini. You may have Gemini in your chart. But yeah, so the very most basic kind of concept behind this card is that this is encouraged to be a time of non-action. So it's kind of like putting your big goals and your dreams and your to-do lists to the side and giving yourself the opportunity to just kind of like disconnect, to rest, to relax, to recharge, to let go of those things that are kind of constantly burdening you on your mind. So it's like whether you're busy and go, go, go all the time in a physical capacity, or whether it's, on a mental level, that if you try to take some time to rest, but your mind is still going a mile a minute and you're still, busy trying to problem solve and plan for the future and like figure stuff out. It's recognizing that sometimes we actually get the most clarity and we are able to kind of channel our energy in a more effective way after we've taken a break. And that's because if we're constantly on the go and we're constantly taking action and being productive, even on a mental level, when we're not actually completing anything like in the tangible world, we don't get the chance to rest, right? And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to always kind of be adding value or getting further ahead. And a lot of times that actually ends up draining our energy because we don't have the opportunity to be recharged, and we're just wearing ourselves more and more thin. And that well that we have kind of becomes depleted, and the more depleted it becomes, the less effective we are at basically taking action and making things happen. So we kind of can fall under this assumption that like the more we do and the more busy we are, the more we're going to achieve, or the closer we're going to get to our goal, when really, because that energy is not sustainable and we're not giving ourselves the rest and care that we need and that we deserve, we're actually expending a whole lot more energy and we're not necessarily getting that much further ahead. And so it's recognizing the value of rest, like, taking a rest, just relaxing, giving yourself permission to shut off, taking a vacation. And it doesn't even have to be from work. Like if you're not working, it could be, whatever goals you're trying to work toward. It could be on a personal development level. It could be within your family. It's really like whatever it is that's kind of constantly on your mind that you're generally fixated on or you're working on. It's recognizing that being caught up in that energy constantly is not necessarily helping you. And especially when it comes to moving forward and being productive and getting things done or moving toward a certain goal, the idea is that if we're on the go all the time and we're constantly occupied and our minds are just constantly racing and we're just checking things off the list, we're not present necessarily. We're not necessarily in tune with what we're experiencing and what we need. But also it's like there's too much noise and there's too much clutter, and we tend not to be able to either connect with or hear our inner wisdom or connect with our intuition and kind of allow that to help guide us. And so this is basically saying that if you take the time to rest and reconnect, like really, truly, genuinely, and it can be a challenge, especially if you've developed a habit of being overactive in one way or another. So it's basically saying like, if you can do that, you can quiet your external environment and your internal environment to the point where you have the opportunity to connect with that inner wisdom. So it's like you could get a completely different perspective on something. You might find the solution to your problem. So there could be a moment of realization, like awakening, like an aha moment. And that aha moment could very well be exactly what you need to kind of fast track you toward your end goal, right? So instead of just like kind of beating your head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over again, sometimes taking a rest, removing yourself from it will give you a different perspective that will ultimately potentially make you more effective when you go back to it, right? And that's why vacations are a thing. The idea is that like getting a rest, disconnecting from the work environment. Sometimes so it's like you rest and recharge, your inner well is full. And then when you go back to work, it's not about just depleting yourself every day, but recognizing you've got this recharged battery and you've got more to offer others. And so it's trying to find a way to sustain consistent effort at work or whatever the case may be, and then kind of maintaining that inner well of energy instead of trying to come back from a place of depletion, right? So that's the idea. It's like coming back refreshed and being able to it's being given the opportunity to kind of find a better balance. And that's why it's so beneficial, right? Because to be in it all the time, it gets tiring. And yeah, so sometimes the information or the perspective or the approach that you need that's going to be most helpful is something that you're not going to be able to kind of come up with until you get yourself out of it. Because even from a manifestation point of view, sometimes we can block our blessings by being too focused on what we're trying to achieve, or like in a place of like desiring, right? Putting that thing on a pedestal or outside of ourselves and longing for it. And so this is about saying, like, whatever it is, put it on ice. So it's not that it's not important, and it's not that you don't want to get there or that you've changed your mind about it, but it's just giving yourself a break from it so that you can get some like real quality rest and trusting that that's going to benefit you. And you may come out of that period of rest not only feeling refreshed and renewed, but with a new perspective on whatever it is you're trying to do. So yeah, this is the time to just lean into relaxation, drop your to-do list and just give yourself, and it, for each and every person, that's going to be more or less feasible, right? But it's also finding ways to connect with that energy, to connect with that mindset. It could just be, if you're not in a position to take a vacation or whatever, it could just be being more aware and intentional about rest, not bringing your work home with you, not ruminating on the things that you're trying to kind of work on, and really just being intentional about the times where you don't have to be doing anything. Give yourself that gift, because it can be difficult to allow yourself to turn off. And it's recognizing that, yeah, sometimes you might have an amazing epiphany when you take your focus off of the like end goal and everything you need to do to get there, and you just kind of relax a little bit. And yeah, getting things flowing for you. And this could also signify that perhaps you're prone to, like, maybe you've got like a workaholic kind of approach. So whether that connects to work or not, it could be, just being busy all the time, being the one that needs to kind of take care of everyone or everything, taking on more than is reasonable. And it might be saying, like, even if that comes from a good place, it's like you might be kind of running yourself a little bit ragged, and to make sure that you're taking time to care for yourself and to feel your well, because that's your primary responsibility. And caring for yourself is really the only thing that allows you to sustain any kind of effort outside of yourself, whether you're helping other people, whether you're showing up at work, or you're caring for your family. And so it's remembering that you are the most important part of this equation, and you're human just like everybody else. So, you need time, you need rest, and especially if you've got big goals and dreams, and maybe that's why, maybe it's something big that you're working toward for yourself, or something that feels huge. And so it's like, oh, I can't warrant taking time for rest because there's too much to be done. It's remembering that rest is not a sign of weakness or being stagnant or being lazy. It's actually a major investment. Ooh, I just dropped a bunch of cards. Okay, so I've been trying to pull less cards this month with the hope that I can make the readings a bit shorter, and they have still been quite long, so it is what it is. But yeah, there's less cards, but somehow there seems to be a baseline level of information that wants to come through no matter what. Okay, so your first card for this month is Temperance, and your second card is the Ten of Swords. And then at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Ten of Cups. Right, and I'm just going to get clarifiers for these cards, and then we'll read them all. Okay, so we'll clarify Temperance first. Temperance comes with the Queen of Wands and Ten of Swords, clarified by the Seven of Swords. And the Two of Wands at the bottom of the deck. This is interesting. So the bottom of the deck is kind of like the past energy that's influencing this month's progressions. So it's kind of like the happily ever after wish fulfillment card. So like happy home, happy life, like, you know, children and abundance of love and connection. It's kind of like that ideal life in terms of our happiness, our fulfillment, our connection, and like emotional, you know, love, all that good stuff. And the Two of Wands is about having to make a decision, right? So it's like being on a path that is ultimately, hopefully, going to take you in the direction of your passion and the things that are going to be, you know, exciting and fulfilling to you. But it's kind of being at the beginning of a new journey, or, you know, coming into a new cycle. It's like you can follow the path that's already laid out, or you can, you know, stay in your comfort zone, the place that's familiar, or you can excuse me, or you can take the opportunity to kind of venture out on a new path that's going to be unique to you, that you'll kind of have to figure out as you go. So there could be a decision to move toward a life that is happier, or that allows you to connect more with love and connection, to a partner, to family, you know, this like harmonious, happy life. Yeah, so it's like there's some kind of decision made. So perhaps you're following a path that is less, what is the word I'm looking for? Less common. Like maybe your family structure looks different. Maybe the way that you live your life and the things that you value, and your connection to, you know, love and happiness and abundance is on an emotional level is different, or looks different. Or perhaps what you're longing for is something kind of outside of the norm, and you're trying to escape. Or it's like there could be a comfort zone in terms of like your family situation, or whatever this happily ever after is, that perhaps isn't completely aligned. So it's like you could stay in a place that is working and comfortable, but not necessarily one where you're going to grow and experience new things. Or, you know, you could be making the decision to connect with something that is more authentically you. I'm not sure if or how that might apply to you, but that's kind of coming in as like the energy that got us here. And so for Temperance to come up as your challenge, or the challenging energy that might be preventing you from moving toward your highest good or your highest outcome, it's basically saying like in some way you may be having trouble with balance. So because time for a nap is here, it could be that, like, you know, workaholism, or like, you know, putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be doing rather than being. So maybe you've kind of gotten to a place where you're kind of more focused on your to-do list and the expectations that other people have, and, you know, the things that you need to get done, and you're not allowing as much room for your like emotional fulfillment or spiritual practice and connection. It could be different. So, you know, this is balancing our light and dark as well. You know, appreciating our duality and recognizing that we're never going to, the things that we struggle to keep in balance, like we're never going to master that. We're never going to find that middle path that's just perfect all the time, right? We're always kind of oscillating from side to side, trying to find our balance, because there is no perfect balance, because depending on what we're going through and what we're experiencing, we need to focus more on one area or the other, right? Like, you know, the way that things unfold is in a certain sense like beyond our control, and it's just how we respond to it. And so that balance is always going to be tested, and we're always going to have to be able to kind of assess where we are, what's needed from us, what we need, and what resources we have to work with, and then, you know, just doing our best. And so this is recognizing that, you know, bringing things into balance has a lot more to do with you and your attitude and your outlook, and kind of like budgeting your resources, your energy, knowing what you've got to work with, and handling the kind of tumultuous nature of life and those oscillations in a way that's going to be easiest for you, right? So it could be that there's a lot of stuff coming up for you this month that is kind of throwing you off balance, or maybe like taking you or threatening to take you in the direction that's opposite to the one that you're trying to go in. And it's recognizing that those tests, it's not speaking to your ability or inability to maintain balance. It's just giving you the opportunity to get, additional practice and to kind of refine your ability to assess like what's going on the outside, what's going on the inside, and make sure that you're kind of handling it in a way that honors you and that empowers you. So yeah, whatever way balance is posing a challenge to you, or whatever areas of your life that's impacting, you might be finding that that's highlighted. Maybe there are more challenges, maybe there's just more kind of unexpected stuff. And for it to come up with the Queen of Wands, this could be related to that kind of creative, passionate, inspired energy. So it could be related to a creative outlet, a hobby, a job, a relationship, but something that's connected to, whatever it is that inspires you, whatever you're passionate about, the things that make you excited about life, right? And that will be unique to each and every person. And this is about being able to kind of stand in that energy, to appreciate it, to acknowledge it as a strength, to have the confidence and the courage to live that authentic life and to honor those passions and to weave them into your daily life, rather than kind of denying them or letting them fall by the wayside. And with this being the Queen, it's also a very feminine and receptive energy. So it's not necessarily about taking action and influencing other people and moving things forward, but it's more influencing your circumstances and your surrounding in a more passive way, right? So it's like by being that kind of pillar of support, by leading by example in your own life and kind of nurturing the people around you, that's how you kind of make an impact. So it could be struggling to value, having a more passive approach to the things that you're passionate about, and not taking action, because it kind of aligns with this time for a nap, right? Like she's not focused on charging forward because she has something to prove or she needs to control. She trusts her ability to live this life that's going to be passionate and to have those connections and those outlets. And so that could be a struggle for you, just being able to be in that energy and to be confident and to believe in who you are and what's most important to you and the things that light you up, and to know that you can find the right balance so that can be a part of your life. And particularly if you're disconnected, or if you've got some kind of resistance around whatever it is that you feel most passionate about, either like fully owning it or fully jumping into it, or sharing it or expressing it, that could be something that's throwing you off balance, because perhaps you might want to have a more fulfilled life, and you might want to be living that passion more openly, or having a more passionate, creative, inspired life and connecting with other people who are on that level. But it's also like, if that's a part of yourself that you have difficulty either accepting or expressing, maybe just fear of vulnerability or fear of rejection or whatever the case may be, then it's like on a subtle level you are rejecting yourself, and it's very difficult to connect with acceptance and to that kind of passionate, inspired life that ultimately you might want if on a certain level you're not accepting it and you're judging it as something that's not okay. So it could be bringing that into balance, but definitely like action and rest seems to be a focus. So like work and play, that kind of stuff might be a main area of focus in terms of just allowing yourself to disconnect. And perhaps by disconnecting and taking a rest, that makes it easier for you to be aware of what's going on and to kind of keep things in balance and to have that confidence, right? To not be underestimating yourself and to not be worried about what's going on with other people, what they think, because she's very unconcerned by what other people think about her and the things that fulfill her. And the energy that you are being encouraged to kind of connect with and embrace in order to help you kind of move past or clear whatever block or challenge this energy here might pose for you this month is the 10 of Swords and the 7 of Swords. And so this really, really has a lot to do with your mindset, with your beliefs, your perceptions. It could have a lot to do with, overthinking, ruminating, catastrophizing just came to mind. So this can be like overactive mental energy, and the fact that sometimes wanting to be prepared, wanting to have a plan, wanting to know what we're up against, and feel like we have some kind of control over, how a situation's going to go or what the outcome is going to be. Sometimes we actually trap ourselves in a cycle of overthinking to the point where we actually get further away from what's best for us, because the more that we think and the more that we analyze and the more that we ruminate, the more fears come in and like what ifs, right? And then that inevitably takes us further and further away from whatever it is that we are trying to accomplish, and whatever the kind of best way for us to navigate that will be. And so this is recognizing the power of the mind, and not only the power of the mind, but when your thoughts are untamed, how that impacts your beliefs, and ultimately it impacts your reality, because what you think ultimately impacts the decisions that you make and how you move through life. And so your thoughts and beliefs are reflected back to you in your external environment, because what's going on the inside inevitably is what you connect with on the outside. And it's recognizing that, especially if you are somebody who has come up against challenging energies in terms of people who may not be trustworthy, if you've experienced like deception, if you try to deceive yourself, maybe to keep yourself in a place that that you're not happy, or to stay committed to something that isn't working for you. Sometimes you have to change your beliefs, and you have to kind of tell yourself lies and believe those lies in order to stay in that place. And so it's recognizing that whatever you're struggling with, a lot of it probably has to do with your inner dialogue and your thoughts and the things that you tell yourself. And it could have to do with like limiting beliefs, things that you were told as a child, things that you've absorbed from your external environment that aren't even necessarily yours, let alone true. And it's recognizing that as much as those thoughts can be difficult and challenging and kind of put a black cloud over us or limit our opportunities for happiness, that maybe throw us off balance or keep us out of balance, it's recognizing that we have the opportunity to reclaim that power by changing our mind. So it's like, if you can change your mind, you can change your life. And the 10 of Swords I really love, because it's kind of like being at the end of this journey where perhaps you've had a lot going on and you've had a lot of difficult thoughts, maybe like challenging communication, maybe a lack of trust, lack of truth with yourself or with others. And it's kind of like coming to a point where you're starting to see that you have the ability to start connecting with thoughts and beliefs that are going to be more aligned with you and the life that you're wanting to live, the things that you find to be most beneficial for you, and releasing yourself of beliefs that are just keeping you like playing small, or keeping you in a place of fear, or perhaps amplifying any self-doubt or insecurity, and recognizing that if those thoughts are yours and ultimately at the end of the day you can essentially choose them, why would you be choosing ones that aren't empowering you, that aren't helping you connect with love or stepping into your authenticity? Right? And so it's recognizing also this is not just as simple as changing your mind, because the trouble with thoughts, especially like rumination and limiting beliefs and fears, is that they become habitual. But this is recognizing that if those less empowering thoughts can become habitual, so can the more empowering ones. And it's recognizing that if you are willing to kind of recognize the power that your mind has, and to kind of commit yourself to making your thoughts and your beliefs work for you, you can come out with a completely new perspective on yourself and how you can move through the world, and you can start working toward forming better habits and cultivating a mindset that is going to be more in alignment with who you are and where it is that you're trying to get and what you want to experience, right? So that might be the benefit of just taking a time out, right? It's like you might really need a break from your mind and your thoughts. You might have a lot of unhelpful thoughts or limiting beliefs that it's hard to be aware of if those are kind of propelling you forward and propelling you to take action in the external world. So you might just need a break from your thoughts and from your minds and from your beliefs to connect with hope that, you know, there is more and that's available for you to choose, right? So it's like the 10 as being at the end of the journey, and you can see she's looking out onto the horizon and there's light there, there's hope and there's promise. So she doesn't necessarily know what's ahead or what that's going to look like or how that will unfold or what opportunities may arise, but it's like it's better than where she has been, right? It's promising enough that she wants to let this version of herself end, right? But in order to take advantage of that energy, you have to be willing to lay down those swords, like lay down those thoughts that are keeping you stuck or making you feel small, right? Because it's like you have to create the space and you have to detach yourself from it instead of carrying that weight in order to be open to a new way of doing things. So for affirmations, I don't dance around the perimeter of the person I want to be. I step in fully and completely. So yeah, this could have to do with, you know, whatever you're most passionate about, you know, the authentic kind of genuine joy and passion that you experience in life. It may be connected to something that is maybe unusual. It may not feel safe for you to express that, but it's recognizing that if you allow yourself to accept that and express that freely, granted, there may be some people that don't agree with you or that are put off by it, but by putting it out there, you can remove those people and open yourself to the opportunity to connect with people who are going to be more aligned and supportive. So it's kind of like it starts with you, but that could be the trouble is like maybe you're not quite feeling confident enough because you've got a lot of thoughts about what that should or is supposed to look like. And we've got my eyes will see what I desire. So it's kind of recognizing that whatever it is that you believe, whatever it is that you're focusing on, that's ultimately what you're going to see. So if you are kind of down and focused on the negative and on fears and what ifs, then you're just going to see more of that. Whereas if you can kind of align with something that's a little bit higher vibrational and maybe more in alignment with what you're wanting to experience, then that ultimately is what's going to be manifesting outside of you. You actually got 2 extra affirmations. So I've got, when I shine bright, I give others permission to shine with me. So yes, this could very much have to do with you accepting a part of yourself that maybe you think isn't acceptable or won't be widely accepted. And perhaps you're not giving yourself the opportunity to shine and to be a beacon of love and light for other people because you're worried about what that might look like or how people might receive that. And when I respect my money respects me. So it could be in connection to a job. It also could be in connection to just like abundance mindset or lack mindset. So what abundance means to you, if you have like a gratitude practice, because again, like in terms of your attitude about abundance, about money, any fears or limiting beliefs that are kind of inspiring you are ultimately going to continue taking you in that direction. So there might be something to do with money or finances or just material abundance that you could also be blocking yourself from, maybe without realizing it. So I'm going to get you one final oracle card just to kind of finish the reading off, and I'll just read it directly from the book. This is from the Starseed Oracle, so it is a little bit more out there. Some of the cards are more practical, others are a little bit more abstract. They have concepts that I'm less familiar with, but I think it's good to have a different perspective, and ultimately it's just about how the message resonates with you if you don't identify with the more spiritual aspects of it. Okay, so the card you got this month is Double Mission. So it says Lightworker Starseed, serve the world by being you. Yeah, so this could very much have to do with your relationship with yourself, and perhaps you're denying your true self. Maybe you're denying your authenticity, or dimming your light. There's something that it's like coming into acceptance of who you are, what's most important to you, what the highest expression of yourself and your energy is, and giving yourself permission to step into that with confidence and to share that openly. That seems to be like a main theme. So be curious to see how that resonates for you. So I'm just going to read this directly from the book. So, double mission. Lightworker Starseed, serve the world by being you. Lightworker Starseeds are mission and purpose oriented. Many have the feeling that time is running out and there's something that they came here to do, create, or contribute. They're here to grow as souls individually, individual mission, and also to contribute to the planet in some action-oriented way, collective mission. Their collective mission is often answered through a career calling or by devoting their life to something bigger. Until they remember their collective mission, it can feel as if something's missing or that they're forgetting something important. It's common for lightworker starseeds to feel that they're different, and they may carry soul memories of being visible or sharing their voice. As such, they may protect themselves by dimming their light in order to fit in, or by spending time in some sort of closet, such as a spiritual closet. If you pull this card, you're being called to remember your collective mission and step into it even more fully. You're being reminded that your role as a lightworker is to light up the world with your presence. This doesn't have to be a great big thing or a decision you need to make. You also don't need to have a great big plan. If you resonate with being a light worker, all you need to do is work out what lights you up, your passions and joys. So this is like that wands energy. And keep doing that. When you trust and follow the simple path of the things that light you up and then lose yourself in the doing, you'll light up the world without even trying. And then the inquiry says, how can you serve the world by being you? Yeah. So I would say, like, whatever it is that you feel most called to, whatever lights you up, it's like the thing that inevitably, if you allow yourself to just fully get lost in it, it gives you something that you don't get from anywhere else. And it impacts you on a level that allows you to kind of shine that light and impact other people. And not only that, but it's like showing other people that that's possible, right? And that, that they can connect with that passion, whatever that thing is for them. So it's a matter of like, what is that thing? Who is it that you are at your most basic level? And is there anything stepping in the way of you really truly embracing and incorporating that into your life and expressing that openly, sharing that with other people and saying, like, you know what, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. This is my thing. This is what I enjoy. And I'm not gonna like prevent myself from doing something that's so beneficial to me just because other people don't understand, or perhaps they're scared of it. So yeah, so it's kind of like, what are you being called to do? How are you going to serve the world by being you? And especially if this is related to spirituality and you're in a spiritual closet because you're afraid that people are going to think that you're out there, or that people are going to judge you or whatever. It's kind of like, well, are you living a better life by denying that part of yourself and then trying to surround yourself by people that ultimately wouldn't understand you? Or is it going to be better to allow yourself to connect with that thing, that spiritual thing that gives you some kind of feeling of purpose and passion, and let the people who wouldn't support you drop away so that you can call in people who are more on your level, right? So yeah, there might be some soul searching to do, which could very well be why you just need to drop taking action and just allow yourself to rest, because you might come to a new level of understanding or acceptance of yourself at the very least. So Pisces, I really love this reading for you. I'm going to leave it here. If you enjoyed this reading, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube and leave a comment. Beyond that, if there's anyone you could think of that might be interested in or benefit from my readings, you can feel free to share my content. And beyond that, ensure that you take a moment to check out my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, look at my other videos, and make sure you're not only subscribed to the channel, but also signed up for notifications, because that is what will keep you up to date on new videos as they're posted. I'm going to do some work to see if I can kind of refine my format a little bit and maybe post more regularly throughout the month. Yeah, we're due for a bit of a change, a bit of a shift here as well. So yeah, but this was a pleasure. Thank you for sharing this time and space with me. I'm very much looking forward to reading for you again next month. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.